All right, welcome back. It's Mr. Ross again. Today, I'm going to finish up the lesson on exponents. This is part 3. Really, the only thing that's added today is just a little more difficulty, a little bit longer problems, a little more challenging. But they follow all the rules that we went over in the first 2 videos. So I'm going to go ahead and hide my video face right here and get into the problems. All right, as you can see here, this looks a lot like the last problem we did in the previous video. Biggest thing here is there's no parentheses. So if there's no parentheses and there's a negative sign, it means your answer will be negative. There's no way around it. In this particular case, it's just like a -1 on the outside. Think of it as a -1 times that 2 to the -6. All right, now the problem with 2 to the -6 is it has a negative exponent. Of course, where do negative exponents go? They go typically in our denominator or on the bottom of the fraction. This one doesn't have a fraction set up, so we're going to have to make it a fraction. Again, the negative sign is on the outside. There's no parentheses around the 2. That means our answer stays as a negative. All right. So again, that negative sign is like a -1. 2 to the 6 has to go to the bottom. All right, 2 to the 6, it simply means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, a total of 6 times. All right, so that number is going to get a little larger. All right, so I mean, this answer is not bad. But if you want it to be a little more simplified, then you would just multiply out 2 to the 6, which is how we get our 64. Unlike the previous one I went on the other day, this is going to be a -1 over 64 because of that no parentheses with the negative sign. All right, so let's take a look at this one right here. This one is 3 divided by 5 to the -2. So we have a fraction already. And then now our denominator has a negative exponent. Well, where do negative exponents typically go? Well, they typically go to the denominator. But as you can see on this one, it's already located there. So that means this guy has to go to the top. So, and it puts it on top, it's 5 squared. At this point, we don't have anything in our denominator, so it's a 1. So it's really kind of pointless to even have a fraction at this point. We don't need it. So we're going to lose the fraction bar because it's not necessary. But it's not going to be 3 times 5 because it's a 5 squared. So again, the negative exponent is going to pull it to the top. It's going to become a positive exponent. I really don't need the 1 for the 3 anymore, so it's just going to be 3 times 5 squared. Of course, this part right here, the 25 is from 5 squared. And then it's just 3 times 25. So that's how we're going to get our answer of 75. All right. So on this one looks like it's just going to be a crazy problem. It really is not as difficult as it looks. You have to remember, if you have an exponent on the outside, you have to multiply it by everything on the inside as far as your exponents go, including the ones that don't have one listed. Remember, a lot of times we have to add the 1 there. So this 5 is going to multiply by all of these right here. So every exponent inside is going to get multiplied by 5. So the biggest thing on this one is just trying to be neat so that you don't lose track of your numbers. So you can see here, that's multiplying them all out by 5. All right, and so then we can start setting up our numbers. All right, I'll skip the 2 and 8 for right now. So it's going to be a to the 20, b to the 10, a to the 30, and b to the -20. All right, now it's going to be 8 to the 5th. Now this one has a negative, all right? The negative on the inside, so that negative stays with it, and it's going to be -2 to the 5th. Then it's just a matter of simplifying it. The big one that we have to deal with is this guy right here. You cannot have a negative exponent in your answer. So where do negative exponents typically go? They typically go in the denominator, but since this one is already in the denominator, this guy will have to go to the top. This guy's going to have to move up here. All right, so let's check that out. All right, now, if you're wondering how they got the number 32, -32, and this large number of 32,000, they just simply used their calculator and did 8 to the 5th power using a caret key. And then the reason why this one stayed negative is because this is an odd number on the outside. All right, if that had been an even number, such as a 6 on the outside, then it would have been a positive number instead of a -32. All All right, so again, as we mentioned, this one has to go to the top. So when it goes to the top, you're going to have two b values, all right? And what are we allowed to do with these two? Well, in this particular case, since they have the same base, they're both b values, and they're being multiplied. Remember, the rule is we add them, all right? So we're going to add the 10 and the 20 together, and that's going to give us a b to the 30. All right, now if you're wondering where they got this a value from as well, we have an a up top, we have an a on the bottom, right? They both are bases of a. So in this particular case, we're going to subtract. Remember, the rule is if you're dividing common bases, you subtract them. That's the quotient rule. All right, so 20 minus 30 is what we're going to end up with our a values, 20 minus 30. All right, so let's keep simplifying. All right, here's the problem. 20 minus 30 is a negative exponent. Now the b value is fine, right? Because 10 plus 20 is going to be positive 30, and that's perfect. All right, but we cannot have a negative exponent in our final answer. So where do negative exponents go? Well, they go to the denominator unless they're already there. Since this one is not in the denominator, all right, it's going to go to the bottom. All right, and everything else will stay on where it's at. All right, the only question now is whether or not I can keep simplifying. So really what that means is there a number that can go into 32 and the 32,000 number? If there's a number that can go into both of them, then you can keep simplifying. If you can't do that, then that's your final answer. All right, so the number that actually fits into both of them is 32. You can divide 32 by 32 and the 32,000 by 32. When that happens, you end up with a negative 1 because it was a negative 32 divided by a positive 32. All right, and the 32,000 number divided by 32 is 1,024. All right, and the only difference between these two answers right here is you don't really need the negative or the 1 in front of it anymore. You can just have a negative sign. But that's how you come up with your final solution. So again, all this part of the lesson is doing is really just adding a little more difficulty, a few more steps, a little bit larger numbers, but it's the same basic idea that you've already went over. Oh, here's another example of it. Same type of problem. All right, remember, if you have an exponent on the outside, you have to multiply all the exponents on the inside, including the ones that don't have one listed, because that's a power of 1. So you're just multiplying out your exponents. All right, and then once we're done with that, all right, we're going to have quite a few steps to do after that. So let's just go ahead and simplify it. I think I have enough room here. We can squeeze it in. So that's going to be, again, this negative 3 has big parentheses around it. So it's going to be negative 3 to the 4th power, because it's going to be 4 times 1. It's going to be a to the 16, because it's 4 times 4. And it's going to be b to the 8, because it's 2 times 4. Now on the bottom, it's going to be 12 to the 1 times 4, so that'll be 4. It'll be a to the 4 times 10, which of course is going to be 40. And it'll be b to the 4 times negative 3, so that'll be negative 12. All right, if we take a look at this, we've got quite a few things going on here. One, we got 2 a values. We can simplify those. We got 2 b values. We can simplify those. And we have this negative exponent. All right, by definition, the negative exponents should go to the bottom unless they're already on the bottom. So since this one is already on the bottom, what I'll do is I'll just rearrange it. It'll be negative 3 to the 4th. All right, I'm going to have an a to the 16 right here, but I also have an a on the bottom. So what's the rule when we divide? The rule is we subtract. So that's going to be 16 minus 40. All right, and the b value, I'm just going to take this negative and move it out to the top. So I'm going to end up with a b8 times a b12. And then this 12 on the bottom is still stuck there, 12 to the 4th. So as you can see here, I'm going to have to simplify a few things there, okay? See if we can catch up to the point where we're at. All right. I don't have enough space there, so I'm just going to put it right here. Okay, so I'm going to continue on over here. And again, you can try it different ways. The example here listed does it a slightly different way. But I'm going to have -3 to the fourth. And then I'm going to have an a to the 16 minus 40. All right, 16 minus 40. All right, so again, you can just use your calculator on that one. And the same thing with the b value. You're going to have an 8 and a 12. And that one, we're going to be adding those because they were on top together. All right, so we're going to have b to the 20th on that one. All right, our a value. All right, so 16 minus 40 should give us our 24. All right, and then we're going to have a 12 to the fourth. Now, if you look, the only difference they did between the two here is they went ahead and moved the b value up top before they multiplied, and I went ahead and multiplied already. But it's going to be the same exact answer. All right, so one small detail, my 24 is actually a -24 because 16 minus 40 is -24, not +24. And that means that my negative exponent has to go to the bottom. So I'm going to end up with -3 to the fourth, a b to the 20th, 12 to the fourth, and my a to the 24 also has to move on the bottom. Now, this isn't a bad answer right here, but I can still simplify that more. Again, this is 12 to the fourth. So that's 12 times 12 times 12 times 12. And the same thing on the top with the 3. That's -3 times -3 times -3 times -3. So I'm going to keep scrolling down here. Again, they said there's a slightly different than we set up ours, but we should still be able to get to the same solution. As you can see here, this is the same answer that we got. Right here, this is exactly where we're at. So the question is, what is -3 times -3 times -3 times -3? And then what is 12 times 12 times 12 times 12? Because I can't do anything else with these two. These two are stuck. They're not going to change. All right, so that really is the only thing left. So 81 is what you get with 3 to the fourth. And then 2073 is what you get from 12 to the fourth. Now, one more thing is, why is this number right here on the top, why is it a positive number? The reason why this is a positive number is because that 4 is an even number. So that's negative times a negative times a negative times a negative, and that ends up being a positive number. So if we scroll down here and look at the answer of 81, that's why it's a positive 81. All right. Now, in this particular case, we're able to divide both the top number 81 and the 2000 number by 81, and it works for both of them. And then it simplifies my answer down to a 1b or a b over 256. And that's my final answer. So again, it's the same information that we've already covered in the previous lesson, but they're just more challenging problems. All right. And number 6, or example 20 is just another example of that. You can take a look at the notes on that one, but it's just a continuation of what we have here. All right. So again, when you have a larger problem like this, one of the biggest things you can do is be neat. Because if you're not neat and you are sloppy and writing it down incorrectly, there's no telling what answer you're going to get. So try to be deliberate with your writing, try to be neat with your writing, because if you can't follow it, then I definitely couldn't follow it. All right, so just take your time on a problem like this. There's typically maybe one problem like this on a test. All right, the whole test would not be like this. But anyway, look over these notes, watch the videos, all right, do the accompanying practice problems that go along with it. And please reach out if you have any questions. Again, communication is going to be key. You guys have to let me know. Again, check on Canvas for my posted office hours. I will post those for you guys so that you can reach out to me for a Zoom session for some more clarification. Okay? So again, log in on Monday. Make sure you check out the agenda for the week. All right, download the appropriate files, submit the appropriate files. All right, and please reach out to me if you have any questions. All right, thank you guys, and have a good day.